Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mortgage Leadership Outlook. We come to you live every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. We had a scheduled guest today. It's unfortunate, that Katie had to cancel. I know she had some scheduling conflicts that she's expressed to us. Got messages that might not be the case, but I thought it was important, and actually, Vince, our CEO, we had a conversation earlier today about talking about the latest issue of National Mortgage Professional Magazine, and I feel like actually, like Vince, we kind of said this would be a good idea to kind of get you on because there are a lot of people that are asking questions about the latest issue and you know one thing I've shared this with you before. So you bought NMP back in January. I wouldn't have had the guts to publish something like this, and it's something that when I started seeing the survey responses coming in and hearing some of the stories that women were talking about, what they felt that they went through, it made me realize that we had to. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and I'm proud to be part of an organization that has the chutzpah to do that. So, Vince, thank you so much for joining us today on the short notice here.
No problem, Andrew. Maybe just for those people who aren't quite sure what we're talking about, we just came out yesterday with the latest issue of NMP magazine. Our cover story is looking at the chairman of AIME, Anthony Casa, and what's happened over the last month after he had disseminated some provocative, some parts pornographic and lewd videos, is now being sued for defamation. And we took a look at this to say, what really does this mean, and what should the industry be taking from this?
Yeah.
So I think I think it's an important question. AIME is a critical organization now in the in our mortgage ecosphere. It has certainly grown tremendously over the last couple of years as a strong advocate for the broker community, and it's trying to be a professional organization. But what professional means in this case was what we want to sort of delve into, and this is an analysis story, an analysis. I won't say analysis article story, but an analysis, an editorial analysis of what's happened and where we as a magazine think AIME ought to go in terms of its leadership.
Yeah, and listen, we can't take away from the unbelievable things that AIME did, and really, actually, I'm going to say, Anthony, like right. The reality is that wholesale lenders treat brokers differently because of Anthony and because of AIME. Like, it's just like it's an undeniable thing. You have the biggest wholesale lenders, that were forced to change the way that they do business. Now, some might say actually that they did it willingly. Some might say actually that they were bullied into doing it. But the reality is actually the mortgage industry and the mortgage broker back in 2008 to 2010 just got spit on. I mean, the mortgage broker lost all actually respect from the industry, and just was made the scapegoat. You had people like the heads of banks that blamed the entire mortgage meltdown on the mortgage broker, and then all of a sudden there's a movement of people actually banding together saying, well, we're not going to take this anymore. And it was great, but that is a separate conversation, because I believe that is the community. That is the community that has been built. And it's not just Anthony. I mean, I just had a conversation last night with a lot of different people, but that was the community that was built, inspired by Anthony. But there's a lot of people that kind of came together to do that. So Vince, what led you actually to say, hey, something, we need to go and do an analysis of this, because we covered it. We did some good coverage actually, on the daily breaking news that you get from nationalmortgageprofessional.com. If you're hopefully subscribing to NMP Daily, you're getting this content every day. But what led to the decision saying that we need to do a deep analysis of exactly what down? I mean, this great timeline. What led to that decision?
Well, I think, any publication or any organization looking to bring news and information and insight to its audience is always thinking about how can we add to this conversation that's out here right now? How do we advance the conversation? How do we make it so that we can all have a frame of reference to look and say, are we on the right path here? One of the things that, internally we thought, I think it's important to bear in mind, we've heard a couple of comments. We've heard some comments very pro since this magazine came out just yesterday. A fair number of folks who say, why are you doing this? Some people have said, you're beating a dead horse. Well, I got to say, this is not an old question right now. This whole thing started 1 month ago. We're only, just over 30 days into this. And as it started, and as everything started coming out, people started to realize what was being said, what was out there, how this was being perceived across the industry. One of the things that we talked about internally was, what can we bring additional to this story? And we thought, well, a great opportunity would be, let's put out an instant poll. Let's do some polling ourselves. And we put together a list of about a dozen questions that we sent out to about 130,000 mortgage professionals across the country. And we put it out there a few times and received hundreds of responses back. And that was all looking at, what is the perception of women in the mortgage industry, and frankly, and men. We asked both sexes, have you been adversely affected in your career because of your sex, because of how you look? Have you been, do you ever feel as though your prospects have been demeaned? Do you ever feel like you've been demeaned? And do you even think that there's a problem there? Because that's a huge issue right now. Do you think there's a problem? And frankly, if all the answers had come back saying, no, we don't think there's a problem, then that would have been actually a very interesting story into itself.
Or if most. Yeah.
But what really came back was a minority, about a third of men in the industry who responded here said, yeah, there really is not, and this should not have an issue with sexism. But what then happened was, more than 80% of the women who responded and said, you bet there is. And I think that's the crux of this story, is that we clearly have a breakdown between whether men in the industry feel like women are being mistreated or are just not being respected, and women who say this happens all the time. And we need leaders in this profession who say, you know what, we're going to stand up and be better than the rank and file members, so we can be a role model to show everyone, here's what you need to do. Too many men in the industry seem to think that there isn't a problem with how women are treated. And we heard from so many women who said, this is terrible, we need to find ways to fix this. Yeah. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just actually the repulsive nature of some of the comments that we got back, like, there was one guy had a solution: get the blanks out of the business. I couldn't, and by the way, if you read actually, Vince's a letter from the publisher, you can see a little bit more about that. But it's it was something that made it clear, like, we had to do something. This is not something that was just a story. Now, listen, there's a lot of people And really, actually, that was the only thing that people, I would say, that had thin arguments, like came at. They said, well, why didn't we put anyone's name on this? Wasn't there actually, someone's name that was authoring this? Now, I know why, but I want to hear it from you, Vince. Well, what was the reason actually that we decided actually, not to actually have one person's name on it, since it wasn't really written by one person?
Well, it was written by one person. It was edited by multiple people. The thing is that this isn't an article where we've got a reporter going out. This is an analysis piece, which makes it effectively an editorial. And I don't think anyone here is unfamiliar with the notion that you pick up the newspaper, the editorials are not signed. And the same thing happens with magazines. This is not the opinion of one person who's writing it. This is presented as an analysis opinion of the magazine. This is NMP Magazine's opinion and analysis being put out there, which is why there isn't a byline on the story. But also, as you said, we certainly had multiple people, multiple sources coming together to try to build this out and build out all the elements of it. Now, it's not. I think some people have said, "Hey, it's you guys are trying to hide this and be anonymous with it." We're not anonymous with it. Our name is in our magazine. It's sitting right here. It's right on the cover. You know what magazine. You know who are the people leading the magazine. It's also, frankly, no different than if an association, an organization such as AIME, put out a statement on something as AIME and not a personal statement from anybody at AIME. Organizations do this sort of thing all the time. And that's exactly why we would have the same thing here.
So Tony Wright just brought up something. Why would a leader of AIME cancel a chance to speak about the association moving forward? And I don't know. And I really, I have nothing but, amazing respect for Katie. It's phenomenal what she's done. The things that she's done with the lenders that she's been involved with, the technology that she's been involved with, and the fact that she's heading up one of the top the top broker association. It is phenomenal, and that's why actually we felt like it was important to have her on here. So I don't know, Tony. Hopefully, actually, we'll have the opportunity to visit with her again. But we shall see. So hey, Vince, I want to get into a little bit about your history, because I don't think actually many people understand where you come from, and know about your history and your commitment to the truth. So and it's something I think that's it is something that you were committed to. And listen, I've learned this just from having conversations with you. I've also actually learned a lot actually from listening to the Culture Matters podcast. If anyone hasn't heard it, there's a great podcast interview that Vince did with Jay Duran. So I just put the link down there if you want to check it out. But so Vince, talk a little bit about your commitment to the truth, and when did that become important to you?
Well, I hope everyone has a commitment to the truth. If you don't, but if you have a commitment to it, the reverse of that. My background, basically, I've spent now about 45 years basically as a reporter. I started as a reporter many, many years ago. And over the course of my time, I've written for a lot of national publications. I wrote for a couple of years for the New York Times, Reuters News Service, the Hartford Current newspaper. I've written for the Boston Herald, and many magazines in between. I've spent a lot of years in the business reporting world, and especially banking, mortgage, and real estate. And I've focused critically in those markets since 1984. So I've been around for a little while on these things. I've served on a number of boards, the Society of Professional Journalists. I've been on the Massachusetts Daily Newspaper Publishers Association. I've headed up the Freedom of Information associations in multiple states where we've worked for open government, and been very active in open government operations across the country in a number of opportunities. So the idea that we're looking for open public records, we're looking for ways to make sure that people see the truth, I think is critical. And, my history has been at a lot of publications where the goal here is exclusively through, good reporting, through good fact checking, through good analysis to bring readers better insight. And I think that's exactly what we want to do here. You've talked about putting this story up. One of the things that I saw when American Business Media decided that it might be a good opportunity to work with NMP and bring NMP into our fold here was the long history that NMP has in this industry, what a reach it's got. But we also looked across the industry and said, there's so few publications or media outlets that are willing to just look at things fully objectively and just talk about the truth. So this is a big issue, to make sure that we have this out here. I see a question that's up, and I'd love to discuss this thing.
Yeah, this is by the way, Shah's a good friend of mine, mortgage broker right here. Actually, was a retail mortgage banker for many years. Is doing an unbelievable job putting together a mortgage company, Madison Mortgage. Shah, thank you for participating. And this is, Vince, please, put your share your commentary on this.
Well, that's fine. So Shah's asked a question here. Says, can I speak candidly about the relationship between NMP and Quicken Loans? That they seem to be a significant sponsor of NMP.
Of course.
Well, I'd be happy to do that. I mean, look, we have had a lot of opportunities to work with lots and lots of mortgage companies, mortgage lenders across this country. We produced a lot of mortgage conferences. And for many years, our primary sponsor for our conferences was United Wholesale Mortgage. But we don't exclude any organization from being part of ours, sponsors and exhibitors. We believe that one of the biggest things that people can do is have the freedom of choice as a broker to decide who you're going to work with, knowing what you need to know about every organization, but having the choice and you make that determination. That's what being an independent broker is all about. So at one point, Quicken was a minor sponsor of ours. A couple of years ago, they started becoming more of a sponsor. But they were never our largest sponsor. They did come into some of our larger shows and took a presenting sponsorship at a high level there, which we appreciate, and I think every broker ought to appreciate, frankly. We're bringing free education, free conferences, free lunches, free opportunities for brokers across the country. I think last year we had like 25,000 brokers sign up to attend our shows, and they were able to do all that for free because of companies like Quicken, like Loan Depot, like UWM, like PRMG, like Plaza Home Mortgage, like Angel Oak. All of these companies are sponsors, and all of them are involved here. Now, last year, UWM decided that they wanted to pull back from their sponsorship with us because Quicken was involved. And that's their business decision. We love the people at UWM, and we think they have a great product. And we're very saddened if they're not where we're in front of all of our brokers. But Quicken decided it was going to take over some of those things. And that's great. But bear in mind, UWM was our largest sponsor for about 8 or 9 years. Quicken is a very large sponsor with us now, but UWM still does significant business. And Quicken doesn't advertise in NMP magazine more so than UWM does. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know, frankly, what the difference is between the two of them. Neither of them are large advertisers in the magazine, which does run separately from the conferences itself. One of the things that you will see if you read our magazine regularly since we've redesigned it, is you will see that we don't approach our stories based on who our advertisers are. I know that a lot of publications do that. They decide who's the advertiser, and then they figure out how they're going to include them and whether they're going to be nice or not nice to advertisers. our approach is that we're producing a magazine for our readers. Those readers are the loan professionals, the loan originators, and the brokers that are out there. If we do that correctly, our advertisers will be there. If all we do is pander to advertisers, we won't have the readers, and then we won't have the advertisers either. Yeah. Shaw, I hope that addresses your question. I'm sure someone was probably going to ask, well, did Quicken know about this story? Given that it's AIME, Quicken did not know about this story. No one knew about this story or about this analysis. I mean, frankly, Andrew read it, I think, this for the first time just a few hours before it went public. This is not the kind of thing where we even extend this across everyone in our company. So we try to make sure that as we approach these stories, they are put together by the people who need to be part of them, and that they're not unduly influenced by anyone that doesn't need them.
Yeah, and so Shah's follow up on this. I asked the question because a lot of chatter on Facebook board that Quicken Loans is the largest sponsor on NMP, and they have exerted significant influence in publishing NMP to write the articles and bash AIME and Anthony Casa. Wow, I mean, Shah, something, I could understand the narrative behind that and why people would be saying that, but I hate to say it, actually, that if there was, if the videos were in the other direction, one of the things and this is where I get uncomfortable, because I try to protect actually this is what I've always done, is like when we work with companies, we maybe would stay away from the saucy subjects, and especially actually if it's going to be someone that's going to hurt relationships that we have, or possibly impact relationships that we have with our top tier advertisers. I don't think Vince cares. Like not that he don't care, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Vince, if the video came from, let's say it was from an executive at Quicken, would that have stopped you at all?
No. Look, what Shaw's question here, people can see it. I asked this question, there's a lot of chatter on the Facebook boards that Quicken applied pressure to us. Well, anyone who's got that chatter, here's the thing. I would appreciate any of them if they had any kind of fact. Fact would be a really nice thing to add here. When we do our analysis, we try to back it up and show where we got that from, where all of this came from. No one can show that on Facebook. I haven't spoken to Austin Nemec. Personally, no one here has spoken to Austin Nemec. I haven't spoken to him since last September, I think it was. So it's at least a year. Yeah. I haven't spoken to anyone at Quicken. The last time I spoke to somebody was well over a month and a half ago, when we were talking about a conference that we were hoping to have in Las Vegas, and they were a sponsor.
Yeah, I did have a conversation, like a text conversation with Austin, because I felt bad. Like I really just felt bad, actually, that that his wife was actually now the part of actually this public scandal, and I just felt bad. But I also texted Anthony because I felt bad, actually, I still actually, as disgusting as I think actually the actions that Anthony's taken, and the continued actions after he was told to stop, and then told to stop by attorneys, I still actually respect actually everything that he's done for the broker, and I found myself having a bunch of conversations about Anthony. I was like, listen, I have to let him know that I'm actually talking about him, because I just think that was important. So other than that, Shah, I think you'd find actually that if someone sent us a video that showed our largest advertiser doing something that they shouldn't be doing, it's going to make it out there. If there's a story, if there's facts, if there's something, we need to know about them. I think actually our industry needs to know about them. And I have to say, the article, as uncomfortable as it made me feel, it was really like it was factual. It did a great timeline, and the analysis and bringing in actually the survey results I thought were great. And Tony just followed up. No, Anthony bashed himself. How can people say otherwise?
I think the other thing here on this is, and listen, I know that people are going to make claims of all sorts because they don't want to see the truth. I would say again, if you look at the publisher's letter that's in the same issue, where we say specifically, we know that people don't always want to hear the truth. The article, the analysis that we put together in here, has nothing that says Quicken is a good company or any company is a good company or a bad company. We say none of that. What we say in there is that there is an association supposed to be leading as professionals, not as cowboys, not as a bunch of amateurs running around, hey, we're just giving mortgages out anywhere, not the image that brokers had throughout the late 2000s of being the ones who didn't care, would make any loan anywhere, and paid no attention to what a professional level should be. I mean, we work so hard in this industry as a whole to get past all of that, to create this as a professional organization, to then have that leader do something so egregiously bad. This is about that leader. This is simply 100% about what that leader did. Now, I think the issue here that I saw in this, maybe I'm going to get a little, animated about this, because I really think the notion is you have to focus on the problem that we're looking at here. This is a fellow who says he's very passionate. And he is. Many of us are, right? If you're in sales, especially, you tend to be passionate people. You tend to have large personalities. It goes kind of with the territory of all of this. But this is a fellow who is crass, is often profane, and he revels in it. Okay, not great, but he's been moving this thing. Not a great way for this. But what it does is it establishes a baseline for what his personality is, who he is, what underlies all of this. So when he does then this thing, where I would ask everyone who's criticizing this to go actually watch those videos that he put out. Look at the lawsuit that has been filed with all the text messages that he sent, the lewd assertions that he made to somebody about. Bear in mind, not even against an individual; it's against an individual's wife. It has nothing to do with any of this stuff. And frankly, one thing that I am still perplexed about is he insinuates that this individual's wife has had oral sex with the CEO of United Wholesale Mortgage. And no one over there seems to be upset with that. That's a question I would love to get more of an answer about. But he does that. Then he follows up with another video where he says he's going to F up the company. He's going to go after the people. He's talking about other execs and sexual stuff. And then he follows it up. Then he sends it out to a ton of people. Then he follows it up over the next few days with multiple texts to harass this woman and this man. After he does that, realizes that the media has now got this because there's a lawsuit that has now been filed. He posts gee, you're all going to hear about this thing. It was one crazy thing I did, but it wasn't one crazy thing. This wasn't somebody out at a party drunk does something stupid. Maybe we could understand that. He did it again, and then over the course of days, repeated it. This was premeditated, direct, vicious attack against someone. And I would ask every single person here, every man who's watching, if someone did that to your wife, your spouse, your mother, would you say, oh, this guy's fine? To every woman who's watching, if this happened to you or to your daughter or to your sister, would you think this is fine? Because I will say, I don't, and I don't think anyone here at NMP does. Now, The notion, made a mistake, he's going to get over it. I think one of the arguments here is look at the man, look at the history of the man. The history of the man says this is not a fellow who has going to go away for 2 weeks, contemplate on this, and come back all rehabbed over his actions. And you just can't say you're going to lead this entire mortgage community if that's who you are. Now, there are great people at AIME. Listen, I'm very saddened that we don't have Katie here today, because she seems like a great leader. And frankly, in this situation, she seems like the kind of person who should be the next leader of AIME.
Yep, 100%.
You know, and I think that's great. But I don't think that any of us can take a look at the situation and say, we know what's going to happen here, that maybe he will step aside. AIME has no board of directors. AIME's membership does not elect its leadership. There is no election. So there's nothing that changes Anthony Casa out of here except Anthony himself staying out, or a groundswell from the community, or a groundswell from the sponsors of the organization. And so what we're saying is we think there ought to be that groundswell, because we don't think that Anthony is the right person to lead a professional association. Readers may disagree. The members there may disagree. But frankly, we certainly think that somebody in this industry should step up and say that, and say it publicly, so that we can at least know that if we're not going to agree, that there were segments of this industry that said, we don't think this is right. And that's what NMP is doing. It is saying, we don't think this is right.
Yeah. So we have our own Melissa. Can you discuss the direction you would like to see the mortgage community move towards in regards to the treatment of women and the equality of all mortgage professionals?
Well, personally, I'd like to see it move in the same direction that I think we're hoping every corporation is moving, and we hope that this society in general is moving. You know, here's an issue that I see right now. You know, right now, I think the association, the members of the association, they like Anthony. They like what he's done for their self-esteem, for promoting this group as being the leaders and what should be the first choice for consumers. They like how he has fought for them on the wholesale level. And all of this is absolutely right. I have no qualms about any of this. And frankly, I wish the rest of his personality and the rest of his philosophy matched his passion for that. But I also know that over the last few years, we've seen Charlie Rose, right? A very accomplished journalist, booted out from CBS. We've seen Roger Ailes, who built Fox News, and Bill Shine, booted out. Bill O'Reilly, booted out. We've seen fellow from the Today Show, Matt. Matt. He's gone, right?
Yeah.
They were large personalities. I mean, Harvey Weinstein, you know, who built big studios, big organizations, things that have a huge impact across this country. And we've seen those organizations remove those people for exactly this kind of activity. And the organizations have been able to continue strong even without them. Now, the question next becomes, what do those organizations and what do we as a whole do in trying to figure out how to be more respectful of everyone, how to advance women in the industry, and not at the expense of men, but certainly at the notion that everyone should be treated equally and should be treated respectfully, and we, none of us, frankly, are in high school anymore. This should not be frat. It should not be bro culture. It's not college, frat boy culture. We all should be acting as professionals.
So do you think that? And I didn't mean to cut you off there, but do you think actually that that it was that Anthony's actions were intentional, or he was just not necessarily conscious? Because like I said, I think a lot of actually, a lot of what's done where women feel marginalized is just from based on the response that we've seen, based on conversations that I've had. It seems that I don't think men, in a lot of cases, understand actually, some of the things that they're saying and the impact that they could have on women.
Well, I think that often that's probably the case. I think men don't always realize that sometimes when we're talking about how a woman looks, that is not appropriate in the workplace necessarily. That some of the things that we're doing when we're working with people, or we're in, or that we're in collegial gatherings. I mean, one of the things that bothered me when we did the survey was some of the comments. One woman in particular who said that she especially sees egregious behavior when they're going out to these conferences and conventions in the industry, and that she sits down with her team, and especially for the females in the team, and talks through them about how to handle this stuff, and often won't send them out to social things without a man next to them to help make sure that they are not unduly taken advantage of while they're out there. And that's completely unnecessary. I'm not saying it's unnecessary. It should be unnecessary, right? And it makes me think that when we do our conferences in the future, we're going to be addressing some of this stuff. As far as Anthony, I would say that one of the reasons, if I thought that he was not consciously doing this, then we would probably not be as strident about that this is not a leader. But the multiple times of doing this says that he perfectly well what he's doing. And frankly, if you watch the videos and read the emails, he's relishing. That's the other part. He is relishing that he's doing it, and that is conduct unbecoming. Now, one of the things that I would point out here is that Katie, when she was taking the reins of this, sent out a letter to folks, and in that letter, to AIME, she said, what Anthony Casa did was wrong. She's hurt and upset with it. I know that a number of folks looking at our coverage have said to us, "Why are you doing this? This isn't really an issue. It's old news. This doesn't really affect women, and you're just going after Anthony." Well, in her own letter out from AIME to the AIME community, she wrote that at the time, she says she was feeling overwhelmed. She says I'm quoting here, the countless well-intentioned messages I've received telling me that I need to stand up for women has been, quite honestly, really hard on me. Hard not because of the topic, but because of the pressure to speak on behalf of her gender. Yeah. She says she sees this all the time, and it's a difficult position for her to be in. She does say, she says later on in her piece, she says that, I believe grace is something everyone deserves, especially when they show a genuine, humble desire to be better. Well, I would assert here that Anthony has not shown a genuine, humble desire to be better. You see his LinkedIn accounts, people will say things and he's now making comments, yes, thank you, I need to hear that. But on his personal Facebook page, he's putting up pictures that say, F them all, which does not sound like someone who is actually sincerely trying to be better, but simply putting on a more public show where he can. And she says, many will blindly support Anthony because of what he's done for the industry. And she says, I believe the best way to love someone, to care for them, is to speak the truth and hold them accountable. And I will point out that this, speak the truth and hold them accountable, is the statement itself from AIME. So for those who are arguing that NMP should not speak the truth and try to hold Anthony accountable, I would ask you to look at the statements of that same organization. I'm not saying you need to agree. I'm not saying you need to follow it. I hope you would, because we think we make a compelling case. But I certainly hope that there isn't a groundswell saying that this is not a topic that the industry should discuss. Because clearly it should.
Yep. Agree. I think actually the dialogue doesn't end here.
Right.
We got to keep it going, and it's and I think actually it's just even just as simple as being conscious of it and knowing that this is an issue, and knowing that there are people out there that are saying get the blanks out of the business, and that they're it's unfortunate, but and they to your point, Anthony's never apologized. I mean, there was a written apology, but Anthony doesn't communicate through written messages. That's Anthony is one of the greatest actually people actually for communicating on video. So the fact actually that the actual apology didn't come actually on video, it also actually says actually it's the same reason why why he's fought so hard for the broker, because he didn't believe that the broker should be negatively talked about and should be treated poorly. It's the same reason why I feel Anthony never was able to come out with like a video apology to apologize to Teresa and Austin. But that's my speculation. We got Berman commenting here. Katie has the opportunity to bring a true democracy to AIME. It is currently not a democracy, and she could take the positives that AIME was pursuing moving forward. I think that and actually. Dad, to your point, I had a conversation with someone who I have a lot of respect for last night. That talked about actually that this is bigger than just AIME. This is because of this. There's a community that's gathered together, and if for some reason AIME didn't exist, this community would survive that, and that's something actually that is unstoppable. And brokers. Brokers have balls now, and we're not they're not scared actually. And I keep identifying myself as a broker because my dad was a broker. He was a mortgage broker. I grew up in this business as a broker. Always being the underdog, but never actually as proud as it is now to be a mortgage broker. However, I think we also need to be conscious of the fact actually that it's not just about brokers. We have an entire industry, that's working together, and that was one of the things that I felt, is my conversations last night and the article where we talk about actually that there's almost like a bully culture, like there's people acting on as bullies. Vince, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, all I would say here is that you're right. I mean, look, this AIME is one subset of a much larger industry. And I think across the industry, we need to be taking a look and saying, how do we all present ourselves as, the bastions of again, of respect, of working together, of being collegial and advancing things. Now, I think that one of the worst things that could come from this is when people say, well, this is a denunciation of AIME itself or the broker community, because there's nothing in here that says that AIME is bad. We have a lot of respect for what AIME has done. We have a tremendous respect for the loan originator community across this country, the entrepreneurship that goes into that, the independent nature of that, and the notion that because so many of them are very small businesses, that the support that comes from associations, sponsors, and the colleagues coming together and speaking and supporting each other is critical. So all of that we believe in. And we believe in AIME, and frankly, we believe in most of the people that are working in AIME. Take a look; they do some fantastic work over there. Their marketing is terrific. Their support for brokers is terrific. I think Katie is great. Mark Summers is the president, and has been since day one. I think that they've got a great organization. But AIME has a problem in this one particular leader, and I think there's a problem in the industry. The people who whitewash what this leader has done. You may not agree that what Anthony has done is worth his resigning from the position. That's up to you. But what bothers me, and this is the bully situation I think that you're talking there, Andrew. What bothers me is so many folks just go, it was fine. Doing this stuff was fine. Making these kinds of allegations against people and these pornographic comments that none of us would put up with anywhere else, that we think that's fine. I just can't believe that part is okay.
Got a comment from my buddy Max Master. Thanks for commenting, Max. There's no easy way to watch or absorb the difficult news. Sexism is a problem that breaches all industries. And I respect the leadership outlook session, as difficult as it must be to discuss. So,
thank you, Max. And it is a difficult discussion. None of this is easy. It's why we have a problem. But when you look through some of the stuff that we've seen, where women have written in on that survey about the things that they've had to deal with, one woman was going up at a conference. I can't remember if she was going up on the stage or near the stage, and the men were all, hooting at her to get up on stage and do a dance. Just absolutely unacceptable. But this kind of stuff happens, and we've got to find ways to be better. There's so many of us in this industry, right? The most loan originators, we're dealing with people who are starting families, the couples that are buying their houses. We're looking at starting them off on family life. This is not how we talk to people. This is not how we reach out to folks and get them to believe in us. This is not how we need to be presenting ourselves to them or to each other.
Fantastic. All right, Vince. I'm just going to drop this link up here. So if you haven't seen it, here you go. There's the link. Go check it out. National Mortgage Professional Magazine. The August issue is out there, and there's a lot more. By the way, it's get some unbelievable content. Listen, this is the story that'll bring you in. But I'm telling you, actually, the direction we've been going with the magazine, being more focused, being more tactical. There's some great stuff. I mean, I'm a big fan of Lou. I love his stuff. His commentary about what real estate agents shouldn't be doing out there, I thought was great. But lots of great stuff. Check it out. And listen, I appreciate everyone for joining us here for another Mortgage Leadership Outlook. Vince, before I take everyone out, do you want to say anything in closing?
No, I would just say that, we believe in the mortgage originator, and we believe in this as a growing segment. Everything we do, if you look at our company, everything we do is geared towards finding ways to bring new content, new opportunities, new approaches, new ways to do business that will grow that segment and make it better. Our conversation in the issues, in this issue, is all about making it better. So with that, Thank you, Andrew, for having me on this segment today.
Thanks, Vince. And again, thank you so much for joining us on the Mortgage Leadership Outlook, coming to you live every 4 o'clock East Coast time, Wednesday, 1 o'clock Pacific time. We will see you next week. Everyone, stay safe out there.